Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. You are listening to a podcast by Pastor Eric Deepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. If you enjoy Faith Over Breakfast, we encourage you to rate it on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, or Google Play. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast with Pastor Eric Deepen, Pastor Andy Littleton.
Why are you talking like this?
This is Eric's radio voice.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
This is me practicing being a man.
Oh, Eric's practicing being a man. Well, there's a little preview. Today we talked about, it started off with a sad event here in Tucson. There's a violent event downtown. There's a film screening, Gone Guys, that I went to that event made me think about. We end up talking about boys, men, masculinity, and some of our experiences that have helped us think through all that. So hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy.
Check. Yeah.
You are registering. I am registering. All right. So
okay. We are here.
You're here,
Eric.
You're the watchman.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on things. Eric, we're starting earlier than we had said we would.
Yeah.
This is strange. I actually thought I would beat you by more than this, and I was just going to sit in my car and do some stuff.
Do some work.
And then there you were, and here we are.
Yeah.
So
have you ever noticed that if you have an appointment that is close by, you tend to have an opportunity to be late, but if you have to drive a longer distance, you're on time or early?
That's true.
Yeah, well, my morning appointment changed position that it was far away.
Oh,
so
that explains a lot.
I had to be, I was oddly like more on top of like getting there on time, being here on time.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday I had, I don't know why this happened, but I had to take my vehicle in to get serviced, and normally I've been able to do it at a location close to the house, but it wasn't giving me that option on the online thing. I won't even get into why we have to do that. But I had to take it across town yesterday early, and because of that, I was early to that appointment. I'm sitting out there. They're not even open yet, because I just was attentive to it. And then everything from then on, I was early. Yeah.
It's like the morning early set you to be early. Yeah. I have noticed that about being late. If I'm late to something in the morning, then the whole day I'm late.
Yeah. And when it's close by, you tell yourself, well, it'll only take me 5 minutes. And then and then something comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or somebody, for me, it'll be like my mom's got a question on the way out the door or something.
Yeah. You don't have any room for margin.
And because you didn't build in the margin, there you go. Well, anyway.
Yeah, so welcome. It's good to see you. 15 minutes early.
Yeah, I'm sure all of our listeners are enthralled.
I think if you listen to Faith Over Breakfast, you already have an idea of what happens and what's going on.
You're one of those people.
You're just like, I like to listen to them, and they'll get to what they need to get to. And I think they finally have to, it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so people are like, if they're still around, they're like, this is just Andy and Eric.
They live very meaningless lives.
They know what irritates you about me and vice versa. So they're pretty keen to the whole deal. Well, with that said, a few weeks ago, things were not good at downtown. There were some shootings and some. But did people die? No.
If I recall right, there were people hospitalized.
Yes.
But yeah, this was a big piece of news, and of course, I mean, sadly this stuff happens a lot, but this just felt dramatic because it was downtown. There's like a newer restaurant that had just opened. It was just like firing into a crowd.
Yeah.
Like it just felt really like it was labeled as a mass shooting on some online thing. That kind of language makes you go like,
Yeah.
And then you get a bunch of comments online about how downtown isn't safe, and which I feel, having grown up around here, it's way safer than it used to be.
I would not have gone downtown as a kid.
Yeah.
No. Even as a high schooler, it didn't feel safe.
And I did do it, but not because it felt safe. It felt like like you were going into a place that was going to require survival skills is how it felt in a way. And somehow that made me feel, like a man.
Yeah.
Right. So,
but it was tragic, and people were injured, and and any one of us could have ended up in that space, like going out to eat one night.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
getting out of a concert, it was late.
Very unlikely that I, as a 54-year-old man, will be up at 2 a.m. downtown, because I go to bed at 9:30, 10. Now, okay, 10:15 is like the latest usually. Yeah. So not happening. I do not like staying up late.
Yeah, and of course I don't know the scenario, but often if you're staying up that late, I mean, are there substances involved? Is there like that? Not always, right? But it's like people aren't in their most reasonable state
at 2 a.m.
and so there's that.
Yeah,
and so that's another. I can't function the next day anymore, being in my 40s.
Yeah.
But also, you just start to figure out that
nothing good happens at 2 a.m. downtown.
Unless you're in your bed. Yeah. And then you're sleeping.
Yeah, if you're in bed downtown in your downtown apartment, we're good.
That's fine. Yeah.
But regardless, it was bullets were shot into a crowd.
Yeah.
And it was done by a man who was
young guy
who's relatively, he's got some issues going on with him.
Yeah. So when you brought it up to me, it was like, where do we go with this? But my immediate thought about it was that I had just gone to a film screening for a film called Gone Guys, and I'd seen some stuff that had come out about the shooter. There's video out of him firing into the crowd now.
Oh, wow.
All over social media,
I don't really want to watch that.
Which is ridiculous that stuff is just so easy to see. Like, I've never tried to see it. I've seen it probably 10 times.
Wow. Well, your feed must be more local.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mine is only on local restaurants. So I get all of the local restaurants, which has been exciting. I've learned about more new restaurants, but not shootings.
Yeah, so he's, in the video, you could tell this is a young guy. Seems like he's kind of got a buddy with him, but it's one guy in particular, and he's just running backwards, basically, like open firing in a crowd pretty indiscriminately. And then it's very quick. The video is showing the police response was very quick. They were right there, and he was taken down, and they went and checked on the crowd. So the video was exhibiting all of that. But it made me think, and I saw some social media, so people were kind of talking about how he had been arrested for a similar type of situation, brandishing a deadly weapon and such, and had gotten no jail time for that. But also, just things he would post on social media exhibited somebody who had, embraced a persona. And that's sort of what it made me think about, and it made me think about this film screening. He had embraced a persona of kind of I'm people don't like me, I don't like you, I don't care. That just is, those weren't his words, but that's what when you saw his posts, it was involved substance use, it involved kind of aggressive language, and he had just fully embraced, even on a public platform, I am the type of person who destroys, basically. And having watched this film that I went to with my buddy Pike down at the Dunbar Center, it's called Gone Guys, and I'm interested in the whole, having done the friendship journey thing, you start hearing a lot about the kind of male friendship dynamics and the young men in our society, even though that's not, my book isn't necessarily about the younger generation or only men, but I've become very curious about that. And this film was talking about young men. And so, it struck a chord with me, because I was like, that's something that film had made me think about. It had made me think about the state of young men. The film was very education oriented, talking about how they're struggling in the education system, but it got into some other stuff and some other, social dynamics, and there aren't relationships, and there aren't meaningful things to do, and there aren't meaningful things to do together. But one of the big things that came up that applied to this, to how I felt about this kid, was I was telling Pike as we left, I said, when you can't define what a young man should do, and every voice in the culture is saying that your feelings, something about your identity is just wrong, you can respond to that in a couple different ways. One is you can deny that identity, try to take on another one, maybe just mute it, act like you don't have any of those feelings, so you're socially acceptable. That you could do that. Or if those urges within you feel like strong and even maybe dominant, and if you just don't feel like there's any hope for you, I think you just could easily conclude, I'm a lost cause. I am what's wrong with society. So who cares? I'll just be that. And that's sort of what I felt seeing at least the media coverage. I don't know anything about this guy other than that. But just the persona he projected was one that was saying, I am the problem, and it doesn't matter. I just am, and I embraced it, so come get me. I'll get you back. You know? Sure. And one of the most profound moments of the film that I think was, they included it intentionally, was that all the leaders that were being interviewed were asked the question, what is healthy masculinity? And not only could they not come up with the same answer, many, if not most of them, were very uncomfortable with the question and admitted they didn't know. They were like, and even struggled with the word masculine. And so on the way home, Pike, my buddy, we were talking about it, and I said, I was trying to figure out a definition. He said, what was it? And I told him, I said, it was very informed by, honestly, like our conversations over the years. And I felt like I at least had a more coherent answer, but it's tied to my faith. It's tied to a doctrine of creation. It's tied to a redemptive vision. I can't untether it from that. Anyway, so
what was the definition?
Yeah, so it was something to the effect of, you have been given power, and that would, I think, getting comfortable with that language, especially something that we've talked about over the years. You've been given power to bring life, to create, to speak into the chaos of our world, and how you steward your power is of great importance, and it can be used for the healing of the world, or it can be destructive. And you have responsibility to steward that power. Something like that.
Yeah, no, that's
and I know that doesn't, what is it, maybe that doesn't quite answer what is a man, but I think I think there's some core stuff in there. And I would never say that, I would not say a woman doesn't have power or anything. It's not to say that there's no, that's exclusive to, the gender male.
Right.
But I still think it's core to it somehow. So anyway, but I credited you with some of that, Eric. So I wanted to talk with you more about all of that.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say, like, there's no real answer to, like, the mass, or I don't know if it's mass shootings, but the shootings indiscriminately into a crowd by a disgruntled young man. It is what I would call a symptom of a deep sickness in our society. A deep sickness that I think comes from the leadership on both ends of the political spectrum. Okay. And I don't think we have time to unpack that. But as you were talking, I guess I want to say as a pastor, it grieves me for the people who suffer and under the being hit by bullets and what that does to them and their life and then their family's life.
Well, and
I'm glad. I'm pretty sure nobody
entire,
died, and I'm glad for that. But that doesn't change.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
What does it mean to live a life of faith? What does it mean to live as a Catholic Christian? Hi, this is Bishop Kevin Sweeney, host of the podcast Beyond the Beacon. Join me as we unravel and discuss the mysteries of our faith, of the church, of living as Catholic Christians. Be inspired by engaging interviews with priests and seminarians, deacons, religious, women and men who live the life of faith day by day here in our Diocese of Patterson, in food pantries and classrooms and parishes and ministry. How is God working in their lives today? How is God working in our lives? Join me as I ask them and be part of the conversation on Beyond the Beacon. Listen and follow Beyond the Beacon wherever you get your podcasts or watch it on my YouTube channel. Please check the show notes for more details. Thank you and God bless you.
And those who just hearing it, seeing it on social media causes fear, anxiety.
What it produces. Yeah. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, the world, like our little world, is bigger in the sense that, like, you can have a voice to a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And so where you're going to work out who you are is in that online social media world. But I was thinking about, while you were talking about masculinity, I thought, okay, well, let me think about how I grew up and then what I did as a parent that was in a reaction to that.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you my story a little bit and see what kind of. So in the second grade, I showed up to a brand new school in Miami Globe, Arizona, and I met this guy. And the first thing he said to me is, I'm the second strongest. There's the strongest. Yeah. You will need to wrestle me to get ranked.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So immediately I jump in like, I'm told this is how strength is going to be demonstrated here. We're going to out in the playground.
Small mining town culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then riding the bus, maybe third, fourth grade, and I'm told by a fifth grader on the bus, "I'm beat you up when you get off the bus on Friday."
Yeah.
Keeps telling me this all the time, the whole time.
He's making an appointment.
He's making an appointment to beat me up.
Yeah.
And I jump off the bus, and he jumps off after me on Friday. And I look at him, and he looks at me, and I'm like, okay, this is it. It's the end of my life.
Yeah.
And then my friend, Craig, who's the biggest kid in the fourth grade, jumps in between us, looks at me and says, run. And he hits this kid, this fifth grader, as hard as he can in the face.
Yeah.
And I run. I'm like, okay, Craig said run.
Yeah.
And Craig got beat up for me. Mm-hmm. And I remember riding my bike up to the top of the hill to Craig's house and saying, thank you, and man, I'm so sorry, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And he's like, no problem. His face is all red and everything. Yeah. And then I ride home, and the next day, I remember there's this like empty, undeveloped lot. And there's Jeremy, my best friend, who is also in the fifth grade with a sixth grader, and they're basically beating the tar out of the kid who beat Craig up.
Yeah.
They're establishing the rule of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so then there was a lot of what we would call the motorcycle people who would go flying through our neighborhood. So we would put nails in boards and bury them. We would build tomahawks and swords and go to war and throw rocks and shoot bow and arrows at each other. Like, get hurt a lot and learn. And the thing is, my mom and my dad didn't know half of the things, right? And then, I told them at my mom's memorial service that she handed me a canteen and a snake bite kit. And it's like, drink a lot of water, and here's if you get bit by a snake, like, figure it out.
Yeah.
So that was my life. Most of my elementary, junior high school. I went to Rincon at the time, which was one of the more.
This is here in Tucson.
Yeah, Rincon High School. More violent schools at the time. There was a fight every day. I ended up turning into a drug dealer. There's drug deals happening in the locker room all the time. I witnessed gang fights, all the time. Like, I was in that world Nobody, no adults were intervening
right.
ever.
Yeah.
I don't remember the principals intervening much. They would finally break up a fight if it got too out of hand.
Yeah.
But there was order in classrooms. So it was interesting because outside of classrooms there was. So
but there was something more in the culture at the time of letting people figure out things by potentially fighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And parents didn't have a lot of it was not a child-centric world.
Yeah.
Okay? So fast forward, I'm married and having children. There's no way in my mind where I'm okay, I learned a lot from my childhood, didn't realize how much my childhood developed me in good ways.
Yeah.
And I'm there's no way that my son needs to go to an elementary school and fight the second strongest to get his ranking, right, or deal with bullies who are going to beat him up and have the neighborhood justice.
So you're going to set him up for the opposite of what you.
So I'm going to protect him and make sure school's a good experience. And when he got bullied at school, I was there, and we eventually removed him from the school. And yeah. And then in the times when we did say, "Hey, we're going to let you kind of figure this out," and things didn't go well, I feel really guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I changed it. I became a very protective parent.
Yeah.
Probably less protective now than I see my millennial the millennial parents within my church. And they're more protective than I was in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but my point being simply
protective and I would even go beyond that to say almost afraid. I've seen this, afraid to hurt a kid's feelings.
Yeah.
Even as a parent.
Yes, there's that. And also I think a real resistance to boredom in your children.
Sure.
Which I think my parents just didn't care about.
My mom actively told me I needed to be bored.
Yes.
I'd be I want to do something. She's like, you need to be bored.
My mom told us, hey, it's Saturday, do your chores, go outside. Mm-hmm. When I whistle for you, you can come in.
Yeah.
We're talking about,
mm-hmm.
I don't remember it being any cooler temperature-wise
than
it is now. It was hot summers. Go out there. Make sure you have water. And even she didn't care that much about being hydrated. She just wanted us to have some water.
Yeah.
Drink it out of the hose.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so,
I tended to have just a time to be home.
Yeah.
And there was no communication device.
No.
To
they didn't know where I was.
Monitor this. Yeah.
I would go on adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Just wander off with my friends.
I one time went into the storm drain system up in northwest Tucson, and
How old were you?
Two of my buddies and I. This is 12 or 13.
Okay, I think people need to know you were 12 or 13-year-old.
Yeah.
So imagine you're 12 or 13-year-old going into the storm drains. No adult with you?
No adult.
Okay.
I think it was 3 or 4 of us, and we were in absolute darkness. No.
You didn't bring a flashlight.
No
phone.
No phone.
With flashlight on it.
And we were under there for long enough. To me, it felt like 45 minutes. It might have been less because it was, we were moving very slow and just kind of feeling the walls until we emerged in daylight on the other side of the highway in this kind of quarry sort of thing that we were like, whoa, what's that? And then walked around that for a while and then went back. Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if my son at 12 had told me he'd done that, I'd say, hey, that's really nice. Don't do that again.
Yeah.
Right.
I do not think I told my parents that I did that.
Yeah. I wouldn't have told my parents.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think about telling my parents.
Yeah.
My parents did not want to know everything I did. When my kids get home, even if I'm even if I don't care what they did, I'm like, what'd you do? What was it going on? I want to know everything about you. Tell me it all. And my parents, no, they were not that, and so there's that longing. I wanted my parents to be interested in me, but we always swing that pendulum really far. And I think part of that affects the understanding of manhood.
Oh, yeah.
And womanhood.
Sure.
Right? What you do
mm-hmm.
and the freedom that you have and the working it out together.
And there were definitely mistakes. Like in my book writing journey, I've talked to some of the old friends, and like there are a lot of damaged lives.
Oh yeah, we did stupid things and things that should have been monitored by parents.
Right, and so I don't mean to like utterly glorify it, but what we did learn was that we could solve many of our own problems. Not there were problems we got into that we didn't solve, right? But we were not afraid of the world.
Yes.
We learned to stand on our own 2 feet, but I do think the corrective was needed.
Oh, I agree.
But
maybe not as far.
Well, here's an example of parenting. So if your daughter is, let's say, so your daughter, so she's in 5th grade, so she's 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
And one of her friends comes to you. Kids have been playing out, just playing, and they come to you and it says that your daughter threw a rock and hit her in the eye.
Right.
What would you say to that kid?
To that kid?
Yeah.
What would I say to that kid?
The kid who's saying, your daughter threw a rock at me and hit me in the eye.
I feel like my first move is to look at my daughter and say, will you admit to this? Did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then it feels like my next move is probably to somehow, I think I'm going to tell that kid, like, hey, we're going to talk to your family and let your family know that this is not okay with us.
Right.
Something of that effect.
Great parenting, right? I think that's amazing parenting. That happened to me. I got hit in the eye with a rock by a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So I went to his dad, who was sitting in the garage, and he said, Christopher threw a rock and hit me in the eye. And his response was, were you throwing rocks?
Yeah. Was it your fault? Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I was throwing rocks. He said, well, maybe you guys should stop throwing rocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the parenting, right? That was it. It wasn't, hey, you know what? I don't think these kids should be throwing rocks. I need to go talk to Eric's parents, and we need to deal with this throwing rock thing. No, he's like, you got hurt. Don't you think you guys should stop doing that? And I was like, huh. So I would have taken my thing would have been like, not, are you throwing rocks? It was like, okay, what situations? Hey, did you throw rocks? What's going on? Like, okay, we need to talk to the parents. This is not safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our kids should not be doing these unsafe things.
Yeah. Implicit in my response is this outcome is not an okay outcome.
Yeah.
It's not okay that you're hurt.
Yeah. He didn't care.
Yeah. So okay, so some stuff was done wrong in that generation. Clearly something's going wrong now. I don't think the answer to what is healthy masculinity back in when we were kids was good either.
No.
And maybe even they weren't even asking, like the word healthy was almost just like
so here's why I said the story though. I should land the plane. The guy who shot people, he got to work out that anger, that frustration, and that sense of not belonging in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easy because Chad, who was the bully, he didn't become my friend, but he was friendly, and we all hung out, and he was part of the group after he got his beating. Like, it wasn't like in your ostracized. He worked out his whatever things are going on at home. I mean, maybe it's bad for him. I don't know, but at least there's a sense of working it out in a closed neighborhood where I'm like, men don't have a place to work it out.
And I think not only do they not have a place to work it out, but now, so let's, one of the words I was toying with that maybe this kid felt, and I think a lot of boys tend to feel, that is, I'll just throw it out there, aggression.
Right.
And I think that currently, I think the folks in the movie, if you swapped out masculinity with aggression, what is healthy aggression? The answer would have been, I don't think aggression is healthy. I think you could be assertive, or something, there would be like a very technical like redirect of
right.
that. And I think that's sort of what I'm questioning now is I'm going, so then what you're saying is aggression's just bad. And you're making this moral, it's like, the left is now doing what the fundamentalists used to do, right? Just like moral judgments, that behavior's bad. Mm-hmm. And then if you feel it and maybe you feel it very strongly and you, like, this is what I was saying. If you just conclude, you hear like, I'm bad for this, that's bad, I'm bad. You either have so much moral fortitude that you try to not be aggressive and you try to be always like soft and gentle, maybe repressing all that, whatever, or you just say kind of like, forget it. I'm bad. I'll be bad, and that's sort of what it feels like with this kid. And what I'm saying with the whole definition of like, you've been given power is like that aggression is not bad. Mm-hmm. It's not good. It is neutral.
Right.
It has been given to you. The question is for what?
Right.
How do you use what's been entrusted to you to do good and to resist evil? Mm-hmm. And that requires all kinds of frameworks, right? That I think our society is nervous about.
Yes.
But say you do that. You say, because I think it is good to be aggressively against evil. Like, I think, like, even in your story, your friend who heard you were going to get beat up and told you to run and hit the kid, even though that was all really chaotic, what he was...
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, it was... And what he was learning as he was working that out was that, like, this thing that's rising up in me to protect my friend, which is there was aggression in it, mm-hmm. I can use it. I can do something productive with it.
Right.
Now, there was a lot of learning in that. It would have been nice if an adult would have been helping.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
And what Chad, the bully, learned is that when you actually move from verbal to physical violence, other people will stand up for the vulnerable.
Yeah.
And will counter you.
Yeah.
And there will be long-term consequences.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of learning that happened there. And I think some of that learning, in all of our attempts to keep things clean and simple and nice and safe, some of that learning is just not being engaged. And so and then you add the whole online thing. So this kid mm-hmm. here in Tucson did something aggressive that he had been thinking about and talking about for a long time.
Right.
And he hurt a lot of people. And he used a weapon that was like an unfair... He hid behind it, frankly.
Right.
He ran backwards. Like, just think about that.
No, he ran backwards firing a gun.
That's like,
just terrible.
Nobody had there was, but what gets him there is there's a lot of factors. We could talk gun law. We could talk all that. But at the core, I think he's grappling with who am I and what do I do with my feelings, right? Mm-hmm. And this, when your feelings are just bad, sometimes you just quit caring. Like, he didn't care about being honorable. He didn't care about having a fair fight. He didn't, because he's past caring. Because he probably just believes he's a piece of junk.
Right. So, I think it's some of the results of all of this is sort of maybe the streams that are psychologically have flowed underneath society.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing them one of them rear their heads pretty strongly. And so like Freudian thinking is very deterministic. Mm-hmm. And even though I like attachment theory and all mm-hmm. those kinds of things, they're all in, you can put them in the Freudian world. Like, you have this experience with your mom and dad, you do these things, you have these anxieties, you have this.
you will do it because of that.
Right.
It is what it is.
Whereas the other stream, which is really more like, cognitive behavioral therapy, like Adlerian, purposeful teleological,
Yep.
What am I going to do with me in the moment? What am I going to do with me in the feelings? I'm responsible for all these things, even if I do have these childhood experiences.
Right.
That is not as popular as the other one in sort of pop culture, the way we handle people. So then when we come to something like this, we really don't know what to do with this person and all the people around them.
Yeah.
And we're kind of at this loss for, okay, what are we supposed to do? How do we, this problem is just everybody's, kind of determined to go this way, and we're all in hell in a handbasket. It's over.
Right. And when it's essentially over and there isn't any hope, we get outraged about it, and we get worried, and everybody starts blaming each other.
Sure.
Right. But at the core, it's not surprising that hopeless people would act like there's no hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate to go back to the often visited, discredited pastor that I talk about on this podcast, but there's a very definitive moment in Mark Driscoll's ministry, from Seattle, who, he gets all the men together and gives them an hour-long lecture on manhood. And as they leave, he gives them 2 small stones and here's your stones back,
Oh, sure.
Right. And it's just, and people glued them to their, computers. It was this life transforming thing. Now, Mark was this power-driven, not a great person in a lot of ways in leading people. Fast forward to...
He did understand some things.
He did. Fast forward to last year, randomly, I run into the pianist for Ghost Ship.
Okay.
Which is, one of the more popular bands later on that came out of Mars Hill. Worship bands, there's, whatever. I'm talking to him, and he's like, he was in Mars Hill for a long time. And he's like, not a fan of Mark Driscoll anymore, but you know what? He changed my life. God changed my life through him, and I don't have any hard feelings. I'm sad about what happened. And I was like, huh. There was something about saying, hey, grow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a choice. You have power to do something good in this world. So do it.
He was saying you have power. He it got misused, and
I don't agree with a lot of his theological, construct about men and women, but still, got a point. And I think it's both probably to men and women.
Yeah.
You have the power to make choices and to step into this world and do something good.
Mm-hmm.
And you do not have to be bound by your anxieties and your fears and what the world says about you.
And I do think there is some nuance beyond just bare, bodily functions that are different.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as stark as some people want to make it. So that's why I would say I know women who feel aggression, right? It's not just men.
Sure.
But I would say that there is an emphasis, in the male toward some of these things, and there's an emphasis in a female in more of a nurturing direction. And I do think it's good and okay to name that and encourage that. But I also don't think we need to do what some people have done, where it's just men make a decision and women don't. I don't think that's how it works. We bear the image of God together.
Mm-hmm.
And so we both have power, mm-hmm. and in relationship to one another, we should learn how to steward it together.
Yes.
I think
that's really good.
I think that often gets missed. Yeah.
And I think the church has a grand opportunity to re-present Jesus
mm-hmm.
as a man who both was gentle and kind and long-suffering and used his power he had in line with the Father.
Yeah.
And in ways where you're like, whoa, I would not have wanted to be there at that moment.
Right.
Right? I think he was so thoughtful and so careful.
Oh yeah.
And yet so willing to express it when it's needed to be expressed. And I think that's beautiful invitation, because then it's most expressed on the cross, because he gave himself up.
Yeah.
Like, this was not the Romans and the Jews put him to death, but he gave himself over to them, not them. And that's a profound thought.
To use your power to protect, to comfort, to forgive, right? to love. And so that's where, and I should say, aggression is not the only, that's a trait that often just gets labeled bad, right? But there are also traits that I think sometimes from the more conservative leaning world that should be considered part of who a man is, that are muted down, right?
Yeah.
Like tenderness. And the
temperance.
Temperance. Yeah. Self-control.
Yeah.
And those should be considered extremely manly, right? And it's funny, I years ago I was working with some boys at the church, and when I was in youth work, and I was trying to find a Christian book, and I was really struggling. And what we ended up doing was we just used a really old Boy Scout manual, because it had some really great lessons, and it taught things like what to do if you see an elderly person trying to cross the street.
Yes.
What do you do? And the answer was, you go and you check on them, and if they need support, you assist them. It was it was just like, how do you do it? You look at them in the eye, you ask them what they need. If they don't need anything, you give them their autonomy. If they do need something, you set aside everything you're doing and you hook your parents,
because your parents, even though you're younger than me, you're not that much younger, but you are younger.
Our parents are about the same age.
Yes, parents were close to the same age. Did they teach you those things? Was that either implicit or
I think it was
explicitly taught to you?
More implicit. I'm sure there were little moments, but I think it was more implicit. I mean, little stuff like in my book about my dad, I talk about there were some things. Every time we went to the store, if there was a cart that had not been put back in the cart corral, he would say, "Son, you go get that one. I'll go get that one. Let's put them back."
There's teaching.
That's teaching. And we were always he loved to take walks. We probably saved 50 vehicles from flat tires as a team, my dad and I, because he would tell me, he said, "Now look out for nails. We're walking. We have an advantage to see nails and screws in the road."
Right. So he taught you a connection to the larger society and a responsibility.
Yeah, a responsibility. And
that's a powerful lesson, Andy. That does not get taught.
No,
that's amazing.
Yeah. And and I know I would guarantee there's 50 more from both my parents that were, I think I probably learned more from my mom about how to communicate with a person,
sure.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Enunciate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then we spend a lot of time with older people.
So I think I would say, when I go back to think about my childhood, those kinds of things is where my parents spent the time with us. Yeah. I mean, they did some fun things too. I played year-round sports, and my dad was my coach most of the time. Yeah. But of course, year-round sports, by the way, is way different.
Oh, totally. 2
practices a week, one practice a week, and a game on Saturday. That's all year-round sports is. Nothing else.
But I learned in those environments too. Yeah.
But they taught us those. It was important to teach us how to function in society when somebody's talking to you. And I realize, you're respectful. I realize I think things have sped up so much. Yeah. It's not just that the millennials and the Gen Xers, they just were reacting. They're also reacting to everything is 100 miles an hour.
That's true.
And it's not like they can put the brakes on it. To put the brakes on it requires a lot of discipline. Yeah. where it did not require a lot from my parents to put the brakes on it.
Yeah, right. A lot of discipline, and like you might lose opportunities if you're not doing all the things or whatever. Yeah,
and some of that's very legitimate.
Yeah.
And I think so.
But I still think, I mean, part of this was like hard life circumstances for me, but part of it, I was taught by another parent. I was asking, I was like, how do you manage your kids and your stuff? And he just said, just take your kids everywhere. Teach them to do what you do. And so especially in Abby's early years, my daughter, like, she just came along. And so, I mean, little stuff like with her, I wouldn't order for her at restaurants. I would teach her to order, even though she'd squirm. But I said, okay, look at the lady. She needs to hear what you say. And I need you to pick one of these and then communicate that to her. And I would sit there and it'd be awkward 45 seconds of her begging me to do it. And I would just go, no, talking shit. She's right here. You got to look at her, and those kind of, but part of that, sure. I mean, my life was crazy, but I don't know a lot of parents of that era that like just took their kids with them. It was usually the kid was being observed by someone else in a sheltered environment, but they didn't embrace the inconvenience of having their kid with them. So then there's all those teaching opportunities. I missed a lot, but that, especially that period was, I just embraced that. And that I think was rare. Yeah. I've seen, there's a couple of people I know who are really good at that these days too, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think we solved the problem of manhood, but, and even womanhood. I think that, I do think letting our children have some more unmonitored adventure.
I think
giving them some more free time in the summer to not have a bunch of things going on and then figure life out.
Yeah, I think that's one I'm hearing. I think I would keep coming back to like not trying to press against the societal tendency to just label emotions and traits as simple, good, bad, but to embrace that any trait can be used for good or evil. I think that actually helps teach some and leads to more discerning, less feeling of hopelessness.
Yeah. And I think the answer that I have found to helping children, men, women grow up in healthy ways is for your church to be a healthy family. And I think in the sense of not a program that you go to.
Yeah.
I think then you've got uncles and aunts who are concerned about you, who make you uncomfortable as a kid because they ask you questions. And you're like, why are you asking these questions? Because they're your aunt.
Yeah.
And having to deal with people who may be a little weird, and like you get to work all these things out in a safe environment, and have parents look after you and protect you. And, it's not perfect, but I think it's a good place to develop.
Yeah.
In all of the different areas, because it's centered around Jesus, and it's especially when it's So I don't know. Those are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. As again, one of the things you and I have chatted out before, and maybe the thing that is that, okay, yes, Jesus is the answer to all of this, but when you think of it in a broader sense, our society does not know how to deal with men in general, and it's trying to figure it out, and it cannot come up with an answer that it's satisfied with, right?
Yep.
And I don't know, because of how strong feminism has been and how there's such a disadvantage now in some ways in like education and other things for young men, and they're feeling displaced. Well, they are the people who have physical strength within the society, and so they begin to push even harder in bad directions. But we don't we don't know what to do with them.
This Gone Guys film spends a lot more time on that.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
And they're careful to say, which I think is good, that like the push for Title IX and all that was needed.
It was.
But perhaps we've lost some things as well. And now, basically the thesis of this film was like, now we need to refocus on this group that's getting neglected, and think about how to train them well. And they're, like I said, they're more education focused. But, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's true. And I think also it's so financially hard to survive in this world. Yeah. Yeah. And that makes it harder to be a man.
And that's talked about in the film too, like the just hopelessness of like, could I even provide? Is there even a chance for me? I think one of the saddest things about the film to me was the ending, because there's a kid who basically his conclusion, and at the end of the film, this is a win, but he basically is like, I at least learned that I can lift weights and get stronger. And it was like, yes, see, he found something he can control. And to me, that was just such a bummer, because I think what we need to prepare men to do is to like move into what they can't control.
Right.
And it felt like the film, all it could offer at the end was just find something you can control.
Right. You become a strong man.
Yeah.
Or a passive man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your options.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that was, there was a lot missing there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, this is an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Always is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for being the kind of friend and co-podcaster who makes me think better about these things over the years.
Well, I hope we helped other people think about it, or at least made them think, hey, I don't agree with anything they said. And
at least you're thinking. You
can write in and be like, I don't agree. Talk about this.
Please do. faithoverbreakfast@gmail.com. Talk to Eric. If you tell me, you better email it too. Or in a lot of podcast apps, you can send your idea, question, or pushback.
Yeah.
And we might talk about it.
We might. Exciting. Well, we often do, because it gives us something to talk about.
We're usually pretty pumped about it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to Faith Over Breakfast with Pastor Eric Siepen and Pastor Andy Littleton. Please share us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.